The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, I am continuing with my reviews of the player cards in The Boundary Beyond, the second Mythos pack in the Forgotten Age cycle. In this episode, I am reviewing the Rogue cards. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Rogues receive a new skill and a talent in this pack, so without further ado, let's get started. The first rogue card in the pack is Hatchet Man. It's a skill with a single agility skill icon and the practice trait. It has the game text, if this skill test is successful during an evasion attempt, the next time the evaded enemy takes damage this turn, deal it 1 additional damage. The second of 3 skills with benefits in this pack, Hatchet Man is a rare source of bonus damage in the Arkham Horror LCG. There are only 2 other skills that do anything like it. The first is Vicious Blow from the core set, while the second is Mark Harrigan's signature card, Homefront, and even that's a bit of a stretch since you are technically transferring the damage from Mark to the enemy rather than doing bonus damage on its own. Now, you must take an evade action to set up Hatchet Man, but that shouldn't be much of a problem for investigators who can use this card. Most of the game's rogues and off-class rogues have an agility of 3 or 4, with Leo Anderson being the notable exception here. Finn Edwards even receives a bonus evade action each turn, so he can set up Hatchet Man without losing too much in the way of tempo. Besides committing Hatchet Man during a vanilla evade action, you can also combine it with cards such as Bait and Switch, Fire Extinguisher, Stealth, Suggestion, and Slip Away, a new rogue event from the upcoming City of Archives Mythos pack. Once the evade action is successful, an investigator has several options to take advantage of Hatchet Man's damage bonus. Obviously, you could attack the enemy with a weapon, but rogues have other damaging tricks up their sleeve, including Sneak Attack and Backstab, both of which become a little bit stronger if you land the Hatchet Man first. Remember that there is nothing on the card that says it has to be your investigator who is the one who inflicts the the damage on the enemy. All that matters is that the damage lands during your turn. If you or a fellow investigator has a beat cop in play, that damage benefit from Hatchet Man's bonus, that will benefit from the damage bonus on Hatchet Man as well. The same is true of Agnes Baker, who could use a card like Forbidden Knowledge to inflict a horror on herself to damage an enemy at her location. If she did that, her response would do 1 additional damage. Now, a clever group of investigators may be able to find a way to combine Hatchet Man with the level 2 Survival Instinct from Undimensioned and Unseen, which enables you to evade multiple enemies in one go, and then a card like Dynamite Blast or Storm of Spirits, which lets you damage multiple enemies to really ratchet up the damage output. I think you'd need probably at least 2 or 3 investigators to pull off this sort of trick, but it would be quite something if you did so. I play mostly solo, so I probably will never be able to do it, but if you do it out there, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Of course, if you're talking about rogue cards and combinations, you really need to mention Double or Nothing, which would double Hatchet Man's damage bonus. As far as the skills with benefits go, Hatchet Man is pretty sweet. The opportunity cost is a little higher than I would like, since you do need to take an evade action to evade that enemy and then inflict the damage on your turn to benefit from that bonus. But there are some ways to mitigate that. I could see experimenting with Hatchet Man in a Finn Edwards deck that relies on Backstab and Sneak Attack. Hatchet Man is also a good way to squeeze a little bit more damage out of Finn's trusty 38, which encourages you to evade enemies in the first place anyway. I think Hatchet Man could also find a home in a rogue deck if you're playing multiplayer, especially if another player in your group has some way of inflicting damage as a free triggered ability during a player window on your turn. And of course, I'm thinking here of a card like Beat Cop or Agnes Baker. If your group includes either of those cards, then Hatchet Man is going to get that much better, and you'll be able to take down those enemies without much trouble. So really good card here if you've got a way to land that damage during your turn. The second rogue card in the pack is High Roller. It's a 2-cost asset that costs 2 experience points. It has intellect and combat skill icons and the talent trait. It has the game text as a free triggered ability, spend 3 resources and exhaust High Roller. You get +2 skill value for this skill test. If you succeed, gain 3 resources. High Roller is perhaps the most straightforward of the new talents released in the Boundary Beyond. Much like the talents in the core set Blood on the Altar and Echoes in the Past, High Roller lets rogues convert resources into skill value bonuses. High Roller's exchange rate isn't quite as good as the other talents, but the benefits are much greater. First, you can spend those resources to boost your skill value during any skill test, which is great for rogues. I know a rogue like Finn Edwards or a Schizo Tool could certainly use those willpower bonuses, and High Roller lets them get those. And second, if you succeed, you get all of those resources back, which is even better. With any luck, you'll get a +2 skill value bonus on any skill test for free each round. That is pretty hard to pass up. If you happen to commit double or nothing to that successful skill test, you'll double the resources you get back from High Roller 2, which is awesome. Don't forget that High Roller is unique, so that you can have 2 copies of it in play. As long as you can ride that hot streak, you shouldn't have a problem triggering both copies each round. I'd be a little wary of triggering both copies on one test, just in case you drew the tentacle and lost all those resources. But you can't reap the rewards without taking a few risks, and the rogue class is all about taking risks. Reviewers tend to spend a lot of time talking about spend a lot less time talking about good cards than bad ones, and I think that's certainly the case with High Roller. High Roller is a gamble, but I think that most players will gladly roll the dice for a chance to boost their skill value by 2 for free. I've been playing a Finn Edwards deck solo through both Dunwich Legacy and the Path to Carcosa, and I can't wait to replace Hard Knocks with High Roller in those decks. If you like talents, High Roller is among one of the better ones released so far, and I think it's among the better ones in this pack. Really good card. That's going to do it for my review of the rogue cards in the Boundary Beyond. I haven't been all that impressed by the rogue cards in this cycle so far, so both of these cards in this pack are refreshing. Hatchet Man's just a neat little card that opens up all sorts of possibilities to inflict bonus damage on enemies. You need to take an evade action first, and you need to inflict that damage on your turn. But you don't necessarily need to be the one who does it, which creates opportunities for some cool player interactions in multiplayer. As for High Roller, it's really among the best of the new talents in this pack. Paying 3 resources for a +2 skill value bonus isn't a great deal compared to some of the other talents available to rogues, but if you're willing to take a gamble, you could end up getting that bonus for free, which is fantastic. If you toss in a double or nothing, if you're feeling really lucky, and you could even come out of the deal netting 3 resources, which is also great. Really good stuff for rogues in this pack. That's going to do it for my review. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check out the reviews for the cards in the other classes when you've got the chance. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.